Hello and welcome to the 215 Sports Pod. I'm Jack Morgan, alongside me, Donovan, Cranage, and we're back for another week. And maybe this week I won't be as mad at the Sixers. They got their nice little token win over Minnesota after losing 2 to start the week. We'll talk about the Eagles as the draft combine is coming your way this weekend. And the Flyers, unfortunately, are back, but one of them is back with a silver medal, not a gold one.
Right.
Suck it, Travis Anaheim. Anyways, we got that, and then obviously Phillies Spring Training has begun. We'll get to that, and I think we got to check in on LaSalle and St. Joseph's episode. Well, and Nova. Nova lost to UConn, so
Yeah.
that's relatively short.
Big game coming up, though, for them with St. John's.
Yeah, they got a brutal end to the season.
Yeah, one of their last 3 games, I think, or last 4 at least.
Their St. John's has to play UConn tonight and then Nova on Saturday, so it might be even worse for them. But all right, where are we starting?
Let's start with.
I'll task you with telling us where we're starting.
Well, let's start with the Sixers, right? 2-2 start, coming back from the All-Star break. We talked about them last week. We were hoping they could go 3-1 or maybe even 4-0 in that stretch. That didn't happen. Started 0-2 with losses to the Hawks and to the Pelicans, which were 2 of the teams I really thought we could beat, and then came back and blew out the Timberwolves and thankfully blew out the Pacers. Joel Embiid was finally back. He had 27, 6, and 5 in his first game back from the debut. And Maxey was your leading scorer all 4 games, even with Embiid.
32.
Highlighting 32 against the Pacers and 39 and 8 against the Timberwolves. And he had that was VJ. I was going to say 6 3-pointers for VJ, who had 24 and 7. I think VJ really stepped up while Embiid was out. Hopefully Embiid can be back consistently because what I've taken, especially in these last 4 games, is that this team is very much nothing without Joel Embiid. It really seems like he is the rock and the foundation to this team, and they're going to need him. They have a tough 3-game stretch coming up, the Heat, the Celtics, and the Spurs. So Celtics being second in the East and Spurs being second in the West, as well as being the hottest team in basketball. They're on a 9-game win streak. And the Magic are only a half game behind, so this is a tough 3-game stretch that you're going to have to go out there and win 2 of them if you want to keep that last playoff spot and not have to win your games in the play-in.
I think my biggest thing is I'm still hung up on the fact that their depth is just took a hit. It was not great to begin with, but now it feels worse. And I felt like Edgecombe some nights just looked exhausted, not like very agile and athletic like we were used to seeing him.
Right.
And obviously with Joel Embiid back, that means the load is kind of lightened in a sense.
Right.
I mean, VJ Edgecombe is averaging 33 minutes a game as a first-year rookie in this league. I mean, that's not where you want. I don't think they want to have to play VJ Edgecombe 33 minutes a game. Obviously, you want your best players out on the court, but not a first-year guy who's you're trying to get his legs under him in the NBA. But you have no other choice.
Yeah.
Because when him and Maxey are off the court, you get ran off the road. It's bad. But with Embiid now, it's like it reminds me because I know when you had Embiid, and Butler, and you had Tobias, it was almost like you got 3 guys here. One of them's got to be on the court at all times once you get down the stretch and into these important games. I hope they do that for the rotation in this year's playoffs, because quite frankly, there's about 7 or 8 playable guys. I mean, if you look at it, you got your starting 5, then you got Grimes, maybe Campaign, and Trendon Watford, and aside from that, I don't think I want to see anyone else except
you got Paul George
Adem
coming
Bona.
back.
Yes, that too. So you don't really go further than 9 guys, I don't think. Adem Bona was a plus 27 in this game, though. So let me include him in there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all right. Who plays better against this matchup, Bona or Drummond?
Yeah.
I'm not indifferent to playing either of them if it's the right thing for the game plan.
I think you bring up a good point with the depth in this team because McCain, while he was still struggling a little bit coming back from injury, he was such a pivotal part of that depth because, I mean, you look at Quentin Grimes had a solid performance against the Timberwolves. He had 19 and 7. But really, besides that, he has not been great. Jabari Walker has not been great. Trenton Watford has not been great. Adem Bone has been all right. Drummond's been all right. So when Paul George comes back and Kelly Oubre is probably going to be coming off the bench, you have a very solid bench player in Kelly Oubre, or someone else coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But as for right now, and if there's a potential injury, I think this team is really struggling with depth. And when you're in these series with teams like the Pistons and the Knicks and the Cavs and the Celtics, you need depth. When you're trying to win 4 games against a team like that, you're going to need depth. And I think that's where they're going to struggle. And I don't think they're going to win a championship, but I think that's going to be one of the main reasons is the lack of depth.
Yeah, that's an issue for me that I don't think I will grow tired of complaining about the next however many months. But we'll see. I think it depends on matchups, quite frankly. I don't think there's... The problem is I just hate how good some of these other teams look. I was watching the Spurs-Pistons the other night, and I'm just watching this Pistons team, and the crowd cares, by the way. That's number one. And number two, I'm watching them, and I'm just, like, what is going on? Like, how are they just, they feel so much different than this Sixers team.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a gap. The Sixers would have to play as close to a perfect series as possible to down any of those teams.
Yeah, and I think that what the Pistons do so well is you have your star players like Cade Cunningham, of course, but the team they play so smoothly together. They have the chemistry, and even though Maxey and Embiid have been playing together for years, you throw Edgecombe in there and Oubre sort of new, and then you throw Paul George out of the mix and you lose McCain. Like there's so many moving pieces. It feels like this team doesn't really know how to play together. Whereas this Pistons team, besides just having probably a few better players, I think that's something they do really well, and why we've seen them succeed so much this year compared to past years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot more to come on the Sixers in the coming weeks, because realistically, that situation will continue to frustrate the living heck out of me. So.
Yeah, and only a month and a half left of the regular season.
Yeah, we're getting down to it, and you know what? I'm happy that there's about a month and a half left in the regular season for not just the Sixers, but for the Flyers. Flyers are back. They're playing tonight. This is a back-to-back, by the way.
Yeah,
this is brutal. You have the Capitals on the road tonight at Capital One. Then you go to Madison Square Garden the next night on ESPN to face the Rangers. I don't know how I'm going to watch that without wanting to throw my TV into the Monongahela River. But then you get off on Friday, and then this weekend, my God, is it another back-to-back? No. It's just the fact that you have the Bruins on Saturday at 3 o'clock on ABC. So a lot of national television exposure coming up for this Flyers team that, I have to be honest, is not anywhere near where they should be or where they want to be. And they're coming back after the break. I think what might help them is the fact that they sent really no one to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Aside from Sanheim, a lot of their guys stayed home and were able to, I would assume, work on their game. And if they weren't working on their game, getting some well-needed rest, some time away from everything, and maybe they come back and maybe this is a stretch where they do win a few games. It doesn't mean it might not change where they are in the standings. I don't think it will. But what if it does? What if you look at them going 3 or 4 and the Maple Leafs aren't having a great year. Rangers obviously aren't. Capitals are a few games better than you, but you beat them a few weeks ago. The only thing that kills them, I think, is a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. I think it's way more possible to go 0-2 than they go 2-0.
Yeah.
I'm predicting a 1-1 split. I really hope the 1 is against the Rangers because screw them. I hate them more than the Capitals. So that's where I'm at with them. But we get to watch Flyers Capitals tonight with good old Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
He's actually leading them in points.
It was a rough end to the first half of the season before that break for the Olympics. I think if you're the Flyers, what you have to do is just take these next few games one game at a time. You mentioned you have the back-to-back and the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. You can't be looking ahead. You have to take it one game at a time because you're in a rough spot right now, but you're 4 points behind the Blue Jackets and the Capitals. So I'm going to disagree with you. If you lose one of these games, I'd rather it be to the Rangers than the Capitals because if you're still looking to make a playoff push late in the season, it starts with beating these teams that are right ahead of you in the standings, and one of them being the Capitals. So I think it all starts with a win against Washington tonight for the Flyers, and then you take it one game at a time, man. You have the Rangers, then you have the Bruins, then you have the Maple Leafs. You can't focus on what's ahead, just on what's right in front of you right now.
I think the Flyers kind of embody who they are with their last 10 games, 3-4-3. It's like, yeah, they're 3-7, but hey, we went to overtime to lose a couple times. Isn't that fun and refreshing? It's awesome. Yeah, they're 3-4-3, and they're negative 13 goal differential. That's, ironically, the negative 13 goal differential is the third worst, the fourth worst in the Eastern Conference. They stink. Yeah. They do, but the way they play the game is literally just grinding, and if a team doesn't bring it that night, they'll get blown out of the water. But if they bring it even 3/4 of their effort, the Flyers usually drop those games. They got to catch them off guard, and this probably couple weeks span is where you can catch teams off guard after such a long break. So hopefully the Flyers are able to make any push to make March and April hockey interesting in the city of Philadelphia, but my conclusion to that is don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
Don't count on it.
Well, and especially after the high of men's hockey in the Olympics that we just saw, coming back, and I'm wanting nothing but good hockey from the Flyers because I very much enjoyed rooting for hockey that was winning. You know, that was awesome to see the gold medal match and them honoring Johnny Gaudreau too after.
Oh, that was special.
So
I have come to this realization that I'm probably not going to see a Stanley Cup in my lifetime. I'd like to. I don't really think I don't have any faith anymore.
Yeah.
But I saw a gold medal won by the U.S., and that's honestly good enough for me. My
great.
hockey lifetime, I'm quite happy with that for the next however many years until the Flyers drive me nuts again.
It was a great way to start the morning too.
It was, but I didn't
bright and
really
early.
know. I didn't really know what to do with the rest of my day. Like after that, I was like Memphis UAB, and I'm like, I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Go for some mid-major
I
basketball.
mean, yeah, but like, what do I do? How do I go from the highest of highs to ever
Yeah.
exist to Memphis UAB?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the AAC is like kind of like a fringe mid-major because they got much more money than actual mid-majors do. However, it's fun. It's I love mid-major basketball. You know what? How about that's how we transition over to some Philly basketball. We'll cover the Big Five for you every episode. That means I actually have to check on Penn for the first time in God knows how long. I mean, let's take a look at the Ivy League scene. Let's start with Penn because that's undoubtedly the least I know. Well, I can't find the Ivy League. I'm really stupid. There we are. They're not bad. They have a chance, but Yale is so good. Yale is really good. I think they're going to win the tournaments for the Ivy League. However, there's a very good possibility that Penn does make the tournament for the Ivy League because only 4 teams make the tournament in the Ivy League. So it's actually possible that Penn is able to make it. If it started today, they would be taking on the Harvard Crimson. However, there's kind of a logjam with 3 teams. After that, Penn is at 6-5. Dartmouth and Cornell are at 5-6, and Columbia is 4-7. But they're probably not going to be able to catch them with the amount of games they have remaining. But who could knock them out could be Cornell and Dartmouth coming from behind to put Penn in that 5 spot. So we'll see. We'll continue to monitor it. Let's go over to a conference I'm much more familiar with, and that is the Atlantic 10 Conference. And hey, St. Joe's 2-game win streak. Since we last talked, they took on Loyola Chicago. That was a win for them on Saturday, and just about a day before that, they took on the St. Bonaventure Bonnies. They won that one. Either of those going down as losses would have helped the Dukes. So obviously here at Duquesne, we're not entirely happy about it. However, so a lot of season left to be played with these final 4 games. And in those, they got 5 more games. No, they only have 4. Oh, so their record's messed up. Okay, whatever. They have George Mason, Rhode Island, Davidson, and LaSalle. That's actually a very doable schedule because George Mason has been on a free fall. That's something we've seen. And Rhode Island is on the road, which is tough. Rhode Island decides when they want to play well
Right.
and when they don't. They can beat St. Louis one day and then lose to our buddies LaSalle on Saturday. It's weird. It's really, really weird. LaSalle was able to win that on 59 to 46. LaSalle had held URI to 46 points. A10 is the A10, and the only way I can describe it is if you think something could be very chaotic and would be like, oh, but that's unrealistic, that would never happen, it will happen.
It will happen.
I know Nick back there, I literally told him, I said, hey, you know what SLU's going to lose? They're going to lose to URI. He's like, no, dude, they suck. And I'm like, dude, you watch. You know what happened last week? URI took down St. Louis. So A10 is kind of chaotic, but I don't know. I love it. I love it for that reason. I'm an A10 sicko through and through. So, you got any thoughts on the beautiful world of the Atlantic 10 Conference?
Yeah, well, if you're including LaSalle in the Big Five, their season's just about over, so there's not too much to mention. They're 8-20 and they're 12th in the A10. Not much to really note there, except for the notable win against Rhode Island that you just mentioned. But it's been a rough stretch for them, going 1-7, 1-8 in their last 8 or 9 games. So
night.
Yeah,
jeez. Yeah, they lost by 27 to
George Washington.
Yep, because that is just totally sensible. Davidson, Fordham, and St. Joe's are what remains. Oh, that'll be a fun one. St. Joe's and LaSalle will play in the final day of the A10 season on March 7th, so I won't be around the area. However, maybe if you're around and you want to be a true A10 sicko and go to St. Joe's LaSalle,
Yeah.
you know what? Go ahead. That'd be pretty wild. I wish I was around to see that, because that is actually like that is a genuine rivalry in the city, which is ironic to say, but it's true. So, real quickly, over to Nova. They are in a good spot right now. They did lose to UConn this past weekend. Sucks, but they're able to get back at it tonight. They'll take on Butler. That is at Villanova at Finneran Pavilion, and Nova opens as 10.5-point favorites in that game. So, obviously expecting a big win for them tonight. However, or no, that was not them. My apologies. It was Xavier. Xavier was the one last week that took Nova to overtime, and they were pretty hefty favorites. But they got that big game, as we were talking about, on Saturday against St. John's, and that's where kind of everything's going to come to a head, especially when you look at the standings.
Yeah.
That game does matter.
Yeah, I think despite a catastrophic 0-4 end to the season and a horrible performance in the tournament, Villanova's a shoe-in to the March Madness tournament.
But frankly, it still might be. They might be able to sneak in if they go 0-5. I mean, it'd be pretty unlikely. But
Right.
They still have the wins.
Well, what worries me for Villanova is you look at their 4 or 5 losses, and besides Creighton, it's only been the ranked teams they've played. So eventually, you play St. John's, which was my point. I think a win against St. John's would be huge just for the end of the season, for the morale, like what you think you can do in the tournament. But eventually, you're going to play one of those ranked teams in the tournament, and I'll be interested to see what they do. You know, they took UConn to overtime a few weeks ago, but then they lost by 10 to them last night in regulation. So you have Butler, what's that, tonight? Yeah, tonight, and St. John's on Saturday. That'll be a huge game for them. It's on Fox at 8 p.m., so they know it's going to be big. You got to rely on your best players, Duke Brennan, who's leading the team in rebounds, and I'm blanking on the other one's name. Tyler Perkins.
Yeah, Perkins.
Sorry, I blanked on him. But I think you got to rely on your best guys to do their thing and look for a win in St. John's going into the tournament. Both tournaments. But I think it starts here and then the Big East tournament, which is the Big East tournament is always a good time.
Absolutely. So if Nova were to get that 3 seed, they'd get that single bye, and there's only single byes in the Big East tournament. That would mean they'd get the winner of 11 versus 6. That was the matchup. Ironically, they were in last year when they took on UConn. So I think that ends up being the final game of the day. That would be a 9:30 tip, which realistically ends up being a 10 o'clock because there's 3 games before it on that day. Or maybe it wouldn't. It'd probably be like a 9:45 because they have the noon and 2:30 window, then the 7 and 9. Either way, as it stands, my apologies. Villanova has a really good chance to kind of advance because I think right now they're around a 6 or a 7 seed in the tournament as they're projecting them to be. So if you're able to pull off a win against St. John's or UConn not just in the regular season, but now in the Big East tournament where you could run into either of them in the semis, that's a pretty big deal, and that would be regarded very highly because it's that soon, that close to the tournament. So it's like, hey, they beat them a week ago. Who's saying that they're not a better seed than we originally had them a few weeks before that? So, I think that could end up mattering.
And even if you end up as the 6th seed, and I think the 11 projected right now is Seton Hall, you have 2 very comfortable wins against them this season. So it's not the end of the world, but obviously the high seeding is what you're aiming for.
And then finally, the final member of the of the Big Five is, I got to find the CAA.
The Drexel Dragons.
This tournament, the CAA tournament, I think is the best tournament in the entire. It is. CAA basketball in the CAA tournament is awesome. You look at the last 3 championship games, they have been the best tournament games I've ever watched during tourney week. It's wild. But they're not exactly bad. Hey, they're 9-7, so they will hopefully maybe get a single bye. I think a single bye is how it works if you got that many teams. Either way, we'll keep our eye on that. Next time we come back will be during tourney week, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
So we'll have a lot to talk about then regarding these teams. Let's move on. We got 2 more topics here. We'll save the Phillies best for last. We'll go over to the Eagles where the combine is underway. So Thursday, tomorrow.
Yes.
You're watching this on a Thursday. It's underway, and the Eagles have a lot at stake this offseason. And I hear you got some quotes for me to react to from Howie Roseman at the Combine Media Day.
Well, it's Combine season. Technically, the drills start tomorrow, but interviews and players checking in have already started. And interviews specifically is what we're looking at. Howie Roseman was a part of multiple different press conferences. I'm sure you can assume what the number one topic when it comes to the Eagles was in A.J. Brown. But I have a few quotes I picked out for Jack to get his reaction. The first off is, this isn't the quote, but there's been many questions about Sean Mannion, first-year play caller. Throughout these interviews, and especially his press conference, Howie Roseman emphasized that this system will be very good for Hurts. So do you think that that's something that needs to be toned to Jalen Hurts? Do you think he needs to be in a good system, or do you think that's just going to be something that's an added bonus that Howie decided to talk about?
I think it's an added bonus. The whole thing with Jalen Hurts is, because we talked about the contract, right?
Right.
Last week was a contract talk with Jalen Hurts. I think at a certain point, the offseason gets so slow to the point where you're talking about contract extensions, because what else are you going to talk about? I mean, I think that Jalen Hurts, he becomes polarized in the city. And I think it's a little much. I understand that there's been 2 collapses now. And maybe you could start to make that case that, hey, maybe it could be him, but I don't think it's him. I think a lot goes without saying that what happens with A.J. Brown, I think when he leaves, and eventually one day he will leave, he will retire or whatnot, I think he's going to drop a bomb, something. He's going to drop a bombshell quote about Jalen Hurts or something, and we're going to all lose our minds. But he's a winner, man. Yeah. So I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy, and I'll stay that way.
Well, keeping on track with A.J. Brown, that was one of the biggest topics throughout all the interviews and the press conferences. So I picked out a bunch of different quotes. Howie Roseman said, we're looking to add to our roster, not subtract. And he continued to emphasize that they want to bring in great players. So he said, you don't get better when sacrificing great players. So, but what he did say, specifically on Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio and on CBS, is that he has to listen to calls that doesn't have anything to do with A.J. Brown, and the chances that he's going to do it with a great player are not very high, but it's a part of his job to listen to offers. So given all that, I don't think A.J. Brown's going to get traded just throughout these full interviews. He's, mentioning that he's a great player. They're not looking to subtract great players. What do you think it would take for Howie to give up A.J. Brown?
I think it would take a king's ransom to the point where, because Howie has been able to finesse GMs. It's not like a hidden secret at this point. It's pretty obvious Howie Roseman is pretty good at this stuff. So
yeah,
I think, honestly, it would take a king's ransom. I think that it would take a lot for him to trade him. And I did think at first that a lot of that is kind of, I know they call, there's a phrase like coach speak. Like all that, like we're looking to win and all that. Just in the press conferences where you're just like, oh, of course he's saying that. He can't. I think that was a lot of what Howie Roseman was saying there, and I don't think reading between the lines will get you anywhere with that. I think genuinely it's just, hey, I think it's pretty clear he values players like A.J. Brown, and I think we've known this for a while that they don't want to trade him. I mean, if they wanted to trade him, we would have heard of this 15 weeks ago when all this was happening, but we haven't. So I think that I don't think that he gets traded.
Yeah.
I think if he does get traded, I'd be shocked, number one. And number two, some team has given away way more than they should.
Right.
There's no way Howie Roseman would get fleeced on an A.J. Brown trade because it's not like he doesn't have any leverage here. He does. All right, fine. No one wants to give me what we want from him. All right, fine. We'll just roll him back out on the field. Reminder, he is an all-pro wide receiver. He's very good at the game of football. So it's honestly, it's a win-win situation. No matter what, Howie will be able to – he holds all the cards in a situation like this.
Yeah. And he just continued to emphasize A.J. Brown has tremendous character, great relationship with guys in the locker room. I think it's a stretch to say that A.J. Brown is going to get traded despite all the rumors. We'll go with a few more. In his press conference, talking specifically about different positions on the defense with free agents and the draft, he said that they are looking to add at the cornerback position. Obviously, you have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Michael Carter is a cut candidate, and Adoree Jackson is a free agent. He also mentioned that they are definitely going to have to address the defensive end and edge rusher position. What do you think is more of a priority here, given that they have 3 edge rushers coming back and 2 solid corners?
I think, what was the question again?
What do you think? I mean, it was pretty obvious. Like, what is more of a priority, defensive ends or corners? Because he made an emphasis of saying that they're going to address both in the offseason. Yeah,
sorry, I'm not going to lie. I saw there's James Harden suffered a fracture in his right thumb. So.
Okay.
So I got struck by that.
Yeah.
So I saw every time I see James Harden in a Shams tweet,
right,
you always have to take it a little seriously because it could be either he's getting traded
unhappy.
Or he's angry.
Yeah.
What was the quote?
He said
no. I'm talking about the Harden quote.
Oh.
I do not like Daryl Morey. Like at that event, he's like, Daryl Morey is a liar, and now it's like every clip. But God, I think you prioritize the pass rush.
Yeah.
I think that compared to last year, 2 years ago now, a Super Bowl winning team, a lot of their strength revolved around that front line and dominating it on both sides of the ball.
Right.
Offensive and defensive. And even when there are games that they had to sneak out, the lines were just so strong that they're able to wait a little bit for the Eagles' offense to get going. Because it's not like the Eagles' offense was perfect last year either, 2 years ago. So the offensive line was able to bail them out, give them time and opportunity. The Packers game was not great in the playoffs.
Right.
But the offensive line, they dominated. And they were able to let guys like Saquon get things going, guys like Jalen Hurts get in their rhythm. And then I think even back to 2018, that game against the Falcons. Nick Foles played terrible. They all did. But the offensive line and defensive line, they were doing such a good job doing their thing. And I think that's an important part of the game of football, and especially for this Eagles team that is kind of built around that for years on end.
Yeah.
They've only started really taking a full interest in drafting like wide receivers and getting big time players like A.J. Brown offensively, like just now, it feels like. Because remember, at one point, their running back for multiple years was Ryan Matthews.
Gosh, yeah.
No offense, but he's not like this stud. They were going out and getting other studs
DeMarco
on
Murray.
different parts. Yeah, DeMarco Murray was probably their warning flag.
I was so disappointed when he was horrible.
I had a DeMarco Murray jersey. I do not have that anymore. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
sold it.
We have better running
I think
backs
I donated
now.
it.
We have better running backs now.
I think I donated it, and to whoever I donated it to, I'm so sorry. I feel awful, man. Whoever has to wear a DeMarco Murray jersey probably
jersey.
gets bullied. Yes.
Yeah.
They probably get bullied in the city.
Yeah.
No matter what, even if it's a Cowboys DeMarco Murray jersey, you're just
Yeah.
a loser.
At least he was.
What a
solid
loser.
there. Yeah. The last. It's not a quote, and it's not from Roseman, but in Nick Sirianni's press conference, I wasn't sure how to take this. He said
I don't know how
that
to
he
take
didn't.
a lot of Nick Sirianni quotes. So.
Yeah, well, here's another one. He said that he didn't have a scheme in mind when interviewing potential offensive coordinators. I didn't know whether to take that as he's open-minded or he just doesn't know what he's doing. So what were your thoughts on that? And then I'll process mine.
I don't know. It just feels like when you say something like that in the way that it's worded, I didn't have a scheme in mind. All right, then what happened last year? What was your scheme last year?
Right.
You couldn't say, hey, we ran this last year, ran this 2 years ago. It worked. That's what I'm trying to focus on when I'm interviewing these guys, getting back to success or something. He's just like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, basically. I didn't know, So it makes me wonder who was really running things last year. Doesn't have a scheme in mind. Was it actually the offensive coordinator? I try to forget his name, but I can't. It's Kevin Patullo. I wanted to forget he ever existed, but was it Patullo running things, and when things were so bad, not even you could step in and help? I don't know. It sends me off on 5 different tangents that I just don't think it's worth getting into. But I don't like the comment. I think there's 20 other different ways you could reword that to not make it look like you're a blithering idiot.
Right, and especially when you see how media trained Howie Roseman is.
Yeah.
That's just something I noticed.
He always
kind of
knows how to be media trained. He's been around, even if it's like, oh, they don't talk to Nick Sirianni about media training. Okay, he's around a guy who's literally the best at talking to the media, and Howie Roseman. You think he doesn't pick up pointers? That's inexcusable.
Well, the only other thing to touch on with the Eagles is the franchise tag window is open, which they have not used in 14 years. 2012 was the last time that the Eagles used a franchise tag. It was on Deshaun Jackson.
They didn't tag Foles?
They didn't.
They didn't.
No.
Oh, God, that's why. Yep. So I remember that was the whole thing of the offseason because it was going to be $20 million.
Right.
And everyone's like, well, do you want to pay Nick Foles $20 million for backing still a backup quarterback? That was the whole thing. Maybe we should have, because Carson Wentz was god-awful after that.
Yeah.
But
we have multiple free agents. I'd be interested. I don't think Howie's going to use it. Honestly, I mean, that's the trend. He hasn't used it but once since he's been the GM in 2010.
I don't think there's a need to.
Unless you use it on Jalen Phillips.
I think out of all the potential candidates over the however many years, that would probably be your best candidate to use it on is Jalen Phillips. So if he does, I think it would be on that as well.
Especially his estimated annual value just went up to $24.5 million, so $2 million higher than it was. Right? And that's more money than we can afford to spend. So
you spend it all. You spend on Jalen Phillips. You're spending all your budget on him,
right?
Much, which is, I get it. He's a great player, but that's irresponsible money-wise. So I would say, if you plan on keeping him, you give him the $20 million. But also, Howie Roseman has found his way around restructuring contracts in the past. So it's not out of the ordinary to think, hey, maybe he's going to do that. And then we're going to look back on it in a few months and be like, wait, that's why.
Yeah, Howie knows
that's
what he's
why.
doing.
He's done that before, and everyone's like, oh, my God, he actually, oh, my God, he's a genius.
Yeah, Howie knows what he's doing, so I trust him. Just thought that was worth mentioning. And, yeah, that's all I really got for the Eagles. There's not too much going on, but I am excited for the offseason to continue and free agency in the draft. And
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
All right. Let's finish off with the Phillies, who are playing right now. What's the score?
They're up. They're up 5-2.
Wow.
Might win a spring training game.
That's a miracle. I mean, all right. Let's go into. I think there's a few guys to talk about when it comes to looking at performances. I think Justin Crawford's obviously one of them. That new addition, Adolis Garcia. God bless us all for whoever thought that was a good idea to sign him. And 3, I guess, look at guys like Bohm, who are still on the trading block for the deadline this year. Listen, Otto Kemp just hit a homer, so
Really?
the Ottoman
I love
Empire
Otto Kemp.
is back in full swing. Nick knows I hate that, but I guess I shall talk about the Ottoman Empire whenever he hits a homer like that. Just snuck out to left center, so good for him. God, is Miller hasn't been playing.
He hasn't played.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's not playing. Oh, he's hurt? Awesome. The greatest news I've gotten all day.
Sick.
Oy vey.
Well,
The Mets are losing 5-0.
luckily Justin Crawford, I think, has looked pretty impressive.
I
He
agree.
went 2 for 3 in his 2026 debut, including a leadoff double.
And that at bat I thought was fantastic. I thought that was the first at bat I saw of all of spring training.
Yeah.
It was Justin Crawford. I'm like, well, this is perfect.
Right.
And he really worked that count. I thought he homered.
Yeah.
I thought for a second he homered. I was like, oh my God.
That would have been awesome.
Jumped out of my seat. But no, he did not. But he doubled. He came very close. Literally, first bounce was off the wall.
Yeah.
Didn't hit the ground, went right off the wall. So good for him. I don't know who they're throwing out there in terms of pitchers. Brad Keller
I was
did
going to
have
say
a clean
Brad Keller
inning.
pitched today. Clean inning.
Zach Pop, not terrible. 1 hit. Got through the inning without any damage. But then you go into, oh my God, Tim Mayza blew up. Well, not crash and burn, but 2 hits, 1 run, and 1 inning of work. But he struck out 2 guys. Now we're getting to the point where I've never heard of these guys in my life, and I will never hear of them again in my life. I don't know anyone the Tigers are throwing out. And beside that, Backhouse, McCambly, and Richards. Guys, I'm out of the game, clearly. I don't know enough about minor league baseball.
Well, McCambly apparently is supposed to make the roster. I think this is Otto Kemp's
he
homer.
gave
He
up.
might be a little behind on
Well,
it.
he gave up a run, a walk, and 2 hits. So
Well,
good job, McCambly.
that's cool.
It's exciting stuff from you.
Someone else who has been having a pretty good spring training, he has a hit today, and he had 2 hits against the Nationals, is Edmundo Sosa. And
Love
that's
Sosa.
It's definitely a positive because, I mean, there's no doubt that we're going to see him in starting
Like, he'll
lineups
make the
early in
team.
the season. Oh, he'll definitely make the team. I think we're going to see him in lineups early in the season, so you like to see the production out of him.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Adolis Garcia, who
Has he gotten a hit?
He hasn't got a hit yet. Oh no, that's not true. He had a double. I want to say against the Nationals in the same
How many
game.
games is he playing? Like,
I think this is his 3rd or 4th game he's played in. He has 1 hit,
And that's
and
just
everything
0 for
else
3
has been
today.
like a
he's
pop.
0 for 3. Awesome,
Yeah.
guys. How many? Okay, so he's got 22 hits. He's a
He has
nice
2.
.091 batting average. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's sick.
Oh gosh, I can't believe that.
And
Hey, Harrison Bader what is he doing in spring training?
I don't even want to look because if he's
I s-
cooking, I'm gonna be mad.
Well, I saw that. I saw he was up yesterday, but then when I went to go watch Bad in like the game at Bad in the game day, like MLB Game Day app, the guy on second got picked off, so inning ended. So I have not followed, nor have I seen a Harrison Bader at Bad.
Yeah.
But let's do our due diligence here. Let's find Harrison Bader, or it just won't let me find Harrison Bader. What is going on here?
While you're finding that,
While it takes me a gajillion years to find one single player.
Kyle Schwarber hit a homer in the first game, and it went 438 feet. And I just had to mention how much I missed that feeling of Kyle Schwarber just crushing a baseball. And it was so great to see again, and I was very happy, even though they ended up losing to the Pirates. But we took the starters out after the 4th inning, so it doesn't really matter.
Ah, nice. He's batting .500 so far. in this
Oh,
spring training.
sick.
6 at-bats, 3 hits.
Sick.
He
That's so
has
awesome.
multiple RBIs, too. He's got 2.
That's so awesome.
He's, I was hoping, he's going to kill us.
Well, what makes
he's
it
actually going to be the reason why I hate Phillies baseball.
Yeah. And what
he's
makes
literally going to be my 17th reason.
What makes it better is Garcia's been terrible.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That's subjective.
Yeah. At least
Phillies haters, that's terrific for them.
At least you have the World Baseball Classic, 3 Phillies representing in Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and new pitcher Brad Keller. Yeah, it starts, I think, Thursday.
Next Thursday.
And I think the U.S. plays their first game on Saturday, I want to say.
No, I think it's a Friday.
Is it a Friday?
I
know it's 8 p.m. prime time.
I think it's
game.
the 6th. They start.
Is it the 6th?
I know the 5th there's...
okay, I just got my days mixed
up. Yeah, the 5th
then.
is a couple teams. We do play Brazil at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
On Fox because we're so awesome.
Because
we're
goated.
Always. The only game on Fox that day is ours because we're the greatest nation in the entire world and we own hockey.
Tom McCarthy's at the game.
I'm upset. Oh my gosh.
He's got a Coors in his hand.
That's awesome. He's got a Coors.
Is that a banquet? Yeah, he was just walking through the lawn.
Wait, but is that a banquet or an original? That's a
banquet.
That's an important question. All right, that's a W then. Good for you, T-Mac.
T-Mac just walking through the lawn with his beer, watching...
Phillies fan. That's
they have the
awesome.
graphic on there. Phillies fan. I hope he's actually just
allowed
to watch the game and not having to take a million pictures.
I will be on that lawn next week when the Phillies play Team Canada.
We'll look out for Tom McCarthy then. Maybe
maybe Tom McCarthy.
Maybe there he goes.
Oh my God! Yeah, Tom McCarthy just casually sipping a beer, which I think is the most unk move ever, and I love it. When I say it's an unk move, I love that move because I would utilize it myself. But I might be doing that in a week. Who knows? Won't be on camera. Anyways, we got anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right. Be back in a couple weeks after spring break. Have a great spring break. Watch the Phillies continue to drive you nuts with their offseason acquisitions, and the Flyers continue to make you question why you watch hockey. And the Sixers, I don't know what they're going to do. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching the 215 Sports Pod. For Donovan, I'm Jack. I'm saying so long, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.